everybody, welcome back to another Rhino tutorial. It's Henry here again, and today we are going to be talking about line weights and printing your drawings. So in the last video, which if you haven't seen it, I would check that out first. We sort of talked through a quick overview of the layout of our Rhino space. We quickly went through our layers, our properties. We talked a bit about our layouts as well as placing our objects within the layouts. So to kind of start off a conversation about line weights, they are probably the most important aspect of a drawing. We use different line weights to communicate different pieces of information to those looking at our drawings. It's sort of like an architect's language in many ways, and yeah, they are paramount and you will not escape them your whole time as an architect, both as a student and in practice. So to start, the line weights in Rhino kind of hold the same principles as the line weights that you're using in like the analog in your current project. They move from darkest to lightest, and they have a kind of a strict hierarchy to them. The actual print width themselves may vary from drawing to drawing, but you will always have a line weight that's the darkest, and you will always have a line weight that is the lightest. To relate this kind of more directly to pencils and pens, you can think of your darkest line weight as maybe a 4B or a 6B pencil, or if you're using microns, maybe it's an 0.8 micron or an 0.5 micron, whereas your lightest line weight would be related to something like a 2H pencil or even a 4H pencil if you're using something like that. And the line weights kind of in between those two fill out the spectrum to give you different sets of information. If you want to have a quick cheat sheet to follow along, you can open up the Rhino line weights guide that should be posted to your Canvas page. But I'm going to kind of quickly go through and give my object some line weights now. So we can see that all of my lines are on one layer. I personally like a workflow where when I'm drawing, I'm switching between my layers here to draw out the different line weights as I go. But other people like to draw the whole object and then go in and assign line weights. For this purpose, that's what I did. I went ahead and drew the whole thing, and we're gonna kind of work through what line weights we're going to assign. So starting with kind of the big picture pieces of the object, I'm looking at what defines the object, what is making the object right now. And for me, that jumps out. It's going to be this line here and this line here. I have a picture of my water bottle on the side here for you guys to reference, just to see what I'm working off of. But yeah, so I'm going to select this top piece here. I'm going to select this bottom piece here. And I have two sort of options I can go. I can go and place it on the darkest layer, which would be a right click, change to object layer. But now that I'm thinking about it, I think I want to keep it on the dark. I tend to reserve the darkest layer here for section cuts. And then I'll have one right below that would be maybe for like outlines and elevation or plan even. So these two objects are going to stay the darkest. However, this sort of plastic swooping, I don't know, strap or piece, or whatever you want to call it here. This is, I would consider kind of, it's important for the drawing, but it is definitely a bit more extraneous than sort of this overall shape here. So I am going to want to move this object to, we are going to start with light. I'm going to try that out. So once again, select my lines, right click light, change object layer. And as you can see, now we have 2 lines. Something to note about Rhino when you're assigning line weights is that there actually isn't a difference in the actual line width when you're drawing. I'd say that's sort of the major split between working analog line weights and digital line weights. With analog, you're looking at the actual thicknesses. In the digital realm, you're just dealing with the colors, and it's something you kind of get used to the more you work on it. But yeah, it's a bit interesting, to say the least. So, kind of back to line weighting this drawing. There's sort of 2 pieces left that are, I don't want to say areas of concern, or maybe areas of interest. We have these 2 lines here, and we have this top piece here. So I have a feeling that the line weight, you can see that this is a rectangle here. What tends to happen if you have lines too close to each other and too thick of line weights is it turns into kind of a blob, and we don't want that. So I have a feeling that this line might be a little bit too close to itself, and it might start reading. It's just kind of a solid black blob. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and change this object to the light line weight as well. This little piece in here, this is relating to this line here. And I would consider this to be super extraneous information. So that's going to go ahead on the lightest line weight and just add a bit of detail. These 2 lines here, again, they're not the most important. They're definitely not the least important. They kind of help give shape to them, but they are pretty short. So I'm going to change those to the medium line weight, and we're going to see how that works. If, like me right now, start to see that this blue on the back of this gray, it's a little bit hard to look at. And if that's the case with your own Rhino, this is why I recommend having this display panel that I talked about in the last video. And you can change the background color to something a bit brighter. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do right now. I'm going to select that. Let's just go with gray. Ooh, that's a little too light. All right. I'll bring this down a bit. Oh, and more. There we go, much better. Okay. So if we go back to my object, we can see these little ridge lines, and I think I kind of want to add those in. So I'm going to show you a quick little workaround for that. So again, this is, I would consider like super extraneous information, similar to this sort of line here. So I'm going to go ahead and go into the lightest line weight. The first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to draw a line. I'm going to turn off my center snap. Here's a tip: if you click tab while you're going in a direction, the line will stay on that point. So in this instance, I'm going to hold shift to make sure it's a straight line. I'm then going to press tab, and I'm going to snap it to there. Okay, so now I'm going to select my object. I'm going to use the array command. In the X direction, I want to go, let's try 20 lines. And we're going to go out. And for this workflow, we're just going to kind of get it sort of accurate for now. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and select all of those green lines. Another quick tip in Rhino, if you drag from right to left, either up or down, it'll select the whole object with which it touches. So even if I hit just this little corner here, it selects the whole thing. However, if I drag from left to right, either up or down, I have to be over the entire object. So to select all of these little green lines quickly, I'm going to drag from left to right, and there you go. I have all of the green lines selected. So now here I'm going to use this command scale 1D. I'm going to select my base point. I'm going to select my first reference point, and I'm just going to drag these out to there, just like that. All right, I like the way that looks. So I'm going to go ahead and delete the end line and the first line since they're overlapping the red. And yeah, okay, it looks good. Pretty happy with this right now. So now I'm ready to go ahead and check my line weights. And to check my line weights, we have to print our page. And when I say print, I don't mean physically print on a piece of paper, but we're going to print to a PDF. So after I kind of have it set up in the page where I want it, I'm going to go through here. Oh, looks like I have my title block locked. Let me unlock that. All right, I'm going to change my name to, oh, and I have caps lock on. Let's try this again. Henry Kaczynski. My studio instructor is ISA. Cool. And then let's call this Algene object. Awesome. Okay, I'm happy with this now. So I'm going to type the command print. I'm going to press enter. I'm going to wait for a pop-up like so. And as you can see, this looks weird and wrong. So the first thing we are going to do is we're going to select portrait. And then the next important place is down here in your view and output scale. So since we are printing from a layout, we don't have to worry about extents or window. We just want to select layout. What's kind of nice as well is if I hit this drop down, you could see I could either choose layout number 2, which is 11 by 17 portrait. You can see we have that selected here, or I could choose layout number 1. Layout number 1 doesn't have anything on it. So we'll go back to layout number 2. We can see our drawing. And we could also see that since all of our print colors are black, our object is fully black. Another quick thing we're going to want to check is that the output color is set to our print color. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. And there's sort of last step / decision we have to make. And this is a pretty important one. So the output type, and you'll see there's 2 types here. There's a vector output, and if I select this, there's a raster output. So a vector image and a raster image are basically, there's kind of 2 types of data that your PDF can come out in. A raster image is pixel based, so that would be similar to like a photograph, or if you're working in Photoshop is a raster based program, whereas vector is kind of point based and it doesn't lose detail. It's infinitely scalable. And I'll show you an example of both of those in just a second. But a vector would be something such as like a Microsoft Word document. Those work in vector much of the time, as well as Illustrator. If you are familiar with Adobe Illustrator, that is a vector-based program. So for now, we're going to select vector. We're not going to worry about resolution or any of that. We are printing to a Rhino PDF. I'm going to go ahead and press print. So let's see, I've got a pop-up here. I'm gonna go into my first year ISA tutorial, or first year ISA folder, and I'm gonna create a name for this file. So Arch131, Nalgene, turn caps off, Nalgene underscore test 01. We're gonna press enter. You can see file has been successfully saved. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull this up. Alrighty. Oh, actually, let's just open this up. Wait for Acrobat to load. Perfect. Okay, so we can see that we have some differentiation between the different elements. And right off the bat, I am relatively happy with how this is all looking. I think that we can go in and maybe assign a little bit darker of a line weight to this strap here. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Okay. So this, what I just did, is kind of a super important step about line weights. It isn't super scientific. There is a bit of testing, and so you'll be printing, you'll be looking at your line weights, you'll be seeing if it's legible, you'll be seeing if the information you want to get out of it is coming through, and if it's not, then you go back into your Rhino document and you change an object's line weight. Excuse me. So I'm going to select my little strap thing, right click medium. I'm going to change object to that layer. I'm going to go back into my 11 by 17 portrait. A shortcut to print is Control P. If you're on a Mac, that's Command P. Everything should be the same based upon the last print I did. So I'm going to select print. And I'm going to override the file I just made. I'm going to replace it. And then once again, we're going to open that up. And already I am much happier with how this is looking. Another important thing about line weights is if you know that you are going to be printing this out on a piece of paper, sometimes it's nice to actually go ahead and do a test print because it can look one way on a computer, but most of the time it looks different on paper. But so this here, I'm going to zoom way in. Okay, where's my object now? Here we go. Perfect. We can see that I am 600% zoomed in, and there's no loss of detail anywhere in this drawing. This is because we printed to a vector image. So with this, I can drop it into Illustrator and directly start to work with these lines themselves. Now, for testing's sake, I'm going to go back into Rhino. I'm going to do Control P. I'll wait for it to think, and I'm going to select raster output. I'm going to go ahead and print it. Now, I'm not going to override this file. I'm going to create a new name, go ahead and save that. And then we're going to open it up. And you can already tell that it looks slightly different than the vector image we were looking at before. And as we start to zoom in, you can start to see that it starts to get a little fuzzy around corners, a little fuzzy around edges. That's because this file is kind of being read in pixels. Now, granted, this is a pretty high quality raster at 600 DPI, but I'll do a little bit more extreme of an example. Print it one more time. we are going to do, let's do 200 dots per inch. I'm going to print. I'm going to overwrite this raster file. It's going to give me an error because I still have it open. And we're going to try that again. Come on. There we go. I'm going to go print. Once again, I'm going to override it. And then we are going to open it. And we're going to zoom in, and zoom in. Maybe not that much. Come on. All right, here we go. And you could really start to see the grain that happens. So there will be times when you may want to use raster for certain drawings you're making, but I would say at least 80% of the time I'm printing in vector. It's only special occasions that I would print in raster. And I think that is it for this video. If you guys have any questions or need any help with Rhino at all, there are office hours throughout the week on Tuesday, Thursday, as well as on Saturday, Sunday. We'd love to help you out, so please come, bring questions, and we'll do our best to help you figure them out. Thanks.